Thanks to those joining me live and to those that be joining me and Storm and Boxing Conversations, Reggie Owens here on Archive. What's going on, gentlemen? What's going on?
What's up? What's up?
What up? What up?
Absolutely. For those joining us on Archive, by the way, take a moment right now and throw a jab at that like button. Make sure that like button turns blue. All right, make sure you do that before you continue listening on your headphones, whatever you're doing. All right, make sure you do that, please. And really quick, Stormy B-Man, tell everybody where they could find you, bro.
All right, everybody can find me right here on the Stormy B-Man channel, right here on YouTube. That's what's happening with me.
There you go. Reggie, where can people find you?
You can find me right here on YouTube at Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. And also I'm on Instagram, Reggie76. Wait, what is it? Reggie76544. But it ain't all boxing. I'll be putting a lot of social and comedic stuff up on there.
Well, there you go. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. This episode is brought to you by Sharpie. All right. So make sure you guys remember to use your Sharpie pens. Check out these notes. Look at these notes. Okay, like these notes are top of the line notes. All right, if I've ever seen one. And man, oh man, we got to show to you. This is Weekend Aftermath. Like I think it's volume like number 4 already. All right, a lot to talk about here. Make sure you guys follow me, by the way, at DStyleBoxing on Twitter. All right, Reggie. It is Veterans Day, and Jamal Hearn had a fight with Lamont Rose Jr. He won that fight. Here's my question. You have a veteran, a Marine, okay, a world champion on Veterans Day, and nobody knew about it. What's going on? What's going on with Top Rank and ESPN? What are they doing wrong?
Scheduling. These fools are idiotic schedulers. I don't know if they're trying to undermine. They can't call themselves competing. They're finding the dumbest moments to compete. They competed, 2 weeks ago against the Canelo event where nobody showed up to watch a good, quick fight between Burchek and Sosa due to poor scheduling with these dudes. I don't know what the hell is going on with Bob Arum. Whoever's a scheduler needs to be fired. Whoever at ESPN is allowing them to set the schedules need to be fired. And then this week they go into this massive event with the YouTubers, and they put this guy Hearn on there to where nobody gets to see the event. And that was some buffoonish crap. They could even fight on Sunday. Fighting on Sundays is a great day to schedule fights. It'll be something that adds value to the sport of boxing to run something concurrent to where you have a sporting event. Or maybe, it's in football season, or they could have ran that on Friday. But I still think you could have found a slot during the football season to showcase that fight. But running it up against that event was a dumb thing, or they could have ran it on this coming weekend.
Absolutely. Like here's my thing, okay? I don't have a problem with the fight being on this weekend. And to be honest with you, even if it's going against the KSI, Logan fight, they still didn't promote it, bro. You know what I mean? Like I found out that this fight was happening because I do boxing shows and I go and check the boxing schedule. All right, like that's the only reason I knew this fight was happening. Like you have a Marine in a country obsessed. Okay, you had a country that was outraged that Kaepernick took a knee because he was, quote unquote, disrespecting the troops. That's the country we live in. Okay, and you have a Marine boxing. Like people would show up and support that if they knew about it. Okay, no one knew about it. Nobody knew about this fight, and this is the second weekend in a row. Well, maybe not second in a row, but you know what I mean. That ESPN puts on an event and no one knows about it. Stormy, how does no one know about this fight?
Wow, man. I think that the people that run that promotional group over there, they're so detached from the sport right now. It's really a thing that's kind of hard to explain, because there are some good fighters over there, and it seems to be happening across the board with a lack of promotion of these guys, to promote their events, to promote that that promotional group is active. That's got a stake in the sport. And it's a shame, because as we just witnessed this past weekend, we saw something take place that's kind of historical, but it's not necessarily a good thing for the sport of boxing. But this is why something like that can take place, is because there's not enough stock being placed in the fight game at the levels of where the fight game, most importantly, can be sustained. It's like, here it is, Veterans Day. You had a veteran fighter who's a world champion who was taking part in an important fight. He was defending his title this weekend. You could have tied that in some kind of way. You could have done some goodwill promotion along with the event that would have allowed more faces to come and more people to tune in and have a stake in the event, because, like you just stated a moment ago, this country is supposed to be in lieu and support of our veterans and everything, at least publicly and openly. But maybe the truth is really, cracking through, or seeping through the cracks, rather, that that's a facade. It's a face that they want to put on to look good, but hardly anybody wants to roll the sleeves up and get the work done. But I think that our champion that fought, Herring, he should have something to say about it as well. Right. Maybe even at his post-press conference or something, he could have stated something like, the displeasure in the fact that here it is, and what's important, what's on the horizon, what was coming this Monday and everything. And hey, where's the acknowledgement? Where is, because although he found a second career, so to speak, where he can do something and have a public platform, facts of the matter is there's a huge percentage of our veterans who are here that are catching hell after giving so much of themselves to this country. And that's not anything to kind of like just gloss over. That's the significance of it all. So yeah, I think the promotional group, in this case being Top Rank Boxing and ESPN, since they're tied in negotiations with what they're doing, I think they really dropped the ball. It's very disrespectful, and I just don't know what we can do to light the fire. I would like to pose that question to you guys. What do you think what we can do to kind of turn that around?
Well, this is what they could have done. All right. First of all, just a quick shout out, Chief Funky 84. We have him in the chat. I mean, Chief Funky couldn't make it. Okay. Unfortunately, me and Chief Funky started throwing hooks. I knocked him out, and now he doesn't want to come on because he doesn't want people to see the black guy. It is what it is. Okay. But he's gonna put some makeup or something, so you guys can't see it on Wednesday. Right? I'm just saying.
I got the film on Patreon. So
yeah, there you go.
Sign up for Patreon to get the film.
There you go. You guys got to pay $5 a pop. Okay, to watch it on Patreon. Okay, E. Woodson, what's going on? He says, AJ10, El Jefe says saludos a todos. All right, make sure you guys check out Stormy B-Man's channel for his take on Hearn versus Rhodes Jr. for the WBO title. All right, the link is in the chat, by the way, especially if it's in archive. Make sure you check that out. Marino, no Marino. Herring don't sell, bro. Well, I mean, he ain't going to sell like that. Okay. Burchell fight will sell. Well, we're going to actually talk about that because of some things Bradley said. But AJ10, they should have put the event in San Diego, big military city. I mean, that would have been a lot better. All right. They could have done it here in El Paso, for Bliss. Okay, like there's a lot of things they could have done. You know what I would have done if I was Top Rank and ESPN? I put this at a military base. That's where I put this fight. Okay, military base, bunch of military people in a chat. I mean, in the arena. Simple as that. I've seen ESPN do things like that before, right? And they'll go because they don't got anything to do with it at the base. Oh, there's a free fight. Okay, I'll go. Okay, a fellow veteran's gonna fight. Yeah, I'm gonna go. They would be rowdy. They would be loud, right? I did love the Marines entrance, by the way. That was kind of cool. I mean, nobody was there, but he came out of the Humvee. There was like 200 Marines there. That was kind of cool. I like that. The only problem was you saw all the empty seats as they drove towards the ring. Okay, with the Humvee, and I'm thinking to myself, what is Top Rank doing here? This is an event. ESPN's paying you to put this event on ESPN Plus anyway. Forget it. Like, this is a fight. Forget about the gate, dude. But let's just put it for free for the Marines to watch. Put it at a military anchor, bro. Like I just don't. I don't understand what Top Rank is thinking. They could have promoted this in so many ways, and they messed up. They messed up in my opinion. But that's what they could have done for this fight. It would have been a better scene than what I saw, man. That's just my opinion on that. The actual fight itself, I will say, let Jamel Herring is who he is at this point. He is 34 years old. Not saying, you could always improve. I just don't see leaps and bounds of improvement that he can make. Reaches a lot with his punches. But, I mean, one thing I will say, man, he has a feel-good story. You can't help but feel happy for this guy every time he wins. All right. And he went in there against a young, hungry, 10 years younger than him, contender, was trying to get his strap. It looked like he outboxed him in the fight. He kind of let those early middle rounds go. I don't know if he fell asleep, as Timothy Bradley said, but I think it kind of taken away a little bit of credit from Lamont Roach and what he did in the fight. But Herring got hurt late in the fight, and he overcame that. And he won, and he retained his title. And what I want to ask, if you have anything to say about the fight itself as well, Stormy, but also to follow up with that, what do you think should be next for Herring?
Well, yeah. First off, boxing is a hurt business. He got hurt in the fight. He's vulnerable. He's not made of steel. He won, and winning is everything in the sport of boxing, because when you're losing, you're suffering. But I think that with the action that took place in the fight, I know guys like Herring. He doesn't have the most. I'm trying to find a nice way to say it. He doesn't have the most natural ability as a fighter, but you could tell that what he has, he's worked at that. He has limitations, and that's okay because he's a world champion. And in this era, that can happen, where if someone is studious and they work hard at their craft, they can get to that point. And what you saw in the fight was Roach, who was more of I would say he's more dedicated to the sport, because as a younger man, he has more of a background and he has that room to grow. Whereas Herring is kind of like at the end quarter of a career as far as a fighter. And another thing that I liked about Roach was he came in with those hands up, you know what I mean? And he made a fight of it because of the technique and everything that he brought. And you could kind of see that as a southpaw, Herring was kind of falling over his feet and things like that. He kind of leads in with his head and his chin. There are some things that I don't know, he's boxing in the military and things like that, but not having that real strong amateur background and things like that. But I feel like he made up for a lot of that with his dedication to the craft, his conditioning, and his character, what he has inside. That's how he was able to pull through those moments when he got hurt and everything. But as far as where I would see him going next, there's a number of fights that could be made with the title that he has, with names that are just the weight above and at the weight, and a couple guys that are coming up, that he can kind of make some change. But he has to decide, is he going to do this for just the opportunity to secure a good payday, or does he want to try to beat someone with a name? And if that be the case, he's got to work on some things to get that together. But there are opportunities there because he has a title, and people will want to challenge for his title. People will want that opportunity. And then some people may see him as a not as serious a threat as a champion because he's limited and he's aging. So that's what I see for him in store. But don't underestimate the fighting spirit of the man, because if you get in there and you get down and dirty with him, he's shown that he can dig. So it's like, and we're in that era where a lot of people are just kind of tough on the surface.
Well said, man. You know, I do appreciate the will of Herring, you know, because look, he's going to beat guys that are more skilled than him, but he's got enough skill to where his will can make a difference, you know, and I think we saw that in this fight. You know, he's not getting any younger, so I would like him to get a big fight. Even though he's going to be the underdog, you can't count a guy like this out in any fight. He's going to gut it out, you know. And I want to see him. I mean, there is a fight that I believe would be amazing, right? A lot of people don't know about this kid. He is in the top 10 by BoxRec anyway. And it's Roman. All right, from Juarez. He's from across the border here. He kind of reminds me a lot of Herring. He's not the most skilled guy in the world, but man, does he have a lot of heart. That would be a fight of the year candidate, and that's a fight they should make, in my opinion. But if not him, because I know he has a voluntary defense, but if not him, if not Daniel Roman, then obviously there's Joseph Diaz. You know what I mean? There's Rochelle Farmer, Tevin Farmer. Call me crazy. Like, I would favor Farmer, but Farmer doesn't have enough power to put him away. So he's going to have to deal with him for 12 rounds. And anything could happen in a fight. Like, you could get cut in a fight. You can pull a muscle. You could break your hand. And you don't want that to happen with a guy like Herring, right? Because he's going to stick around long enough to see his son happens, and then he could make it a rough and tough fight for you. Right. So, Reggie, what do you think should be next for Jamel Herring?
He has to go after the biggest names, like you brought up the age factor. So time is limited. He has to go ahead and take the risk. It's nothing to wait for, nothing to hold back on. And when he goes to take those big fights, he needs to make sure Top Rank is scheduling the fights appropriately. Find the right venues, because they have failed him, man, and time is very limited. So I think he can take on a Tevin Farmer, who seems to be hungry. Who else has a belt out there? Burchek has a belt. He has to take on some of these big bouts, but Top Rank needs to build these fights right, or unless they fight under a Lomachenko undercard or something like that. But they have to get themselves out there, get their names done right. And that's probably what the thing is. Top Rank only seems to have interest in specifically two fighters, a category 2 fighter who should be the superstar, being in Terrence Crawford, who they take serious and who they put their appropriate investment in putting marketing and location behind. But they're gonna have to really step it up, voice for themselves. But he has to go and take these title shots because his time is closing and he needs to make that mark, man. Get his name out there to where it's remembered, and make sure the performances are memorable, especially if they're on TV, man. Memories last when you put on great events, man. But yeah, it's just those two right there. Stay away from JoJo. Not stay away from, I can't say that, but take the champions. JoJo Diaz is a big risk to not hold a title. He's a guy who's going to end up snatching away somebody's title, so he should go after other champions.
I'll tell you what, man. Like I get what like El Jefe is saying, Hearn is good, but he loses to the other champions. Probably. Well, we don't know unless they actually fight. You know what I mean? Like they got to get in there and fight. I've seen bigger upsets before. You know what I mean? Like I said, anything could happen in a 12-round fight. So, and Hearn's going to be there, okay, for the whole fight. He's not going anywhere. And guys like that are dangerous, right? Timothy Bradley. Right, I want to talk about Timothy Bradley really quick. Let me tell you guys something about Timothy Bradley, okay? So he goes viral. I don't know. I can't say viral. I guess for boxing, it goes viral. But dude comes out and he says, "Oh, Tank, who's he fought? Who's he like? He's fighting a cat." All of a sudden, okay, Gamboa is a cab driver. All of a sudden, okay, he's an Uber driver. Okay, you know, but he's calling Gamboa all these names. He's saying Tank's not fighting anybody, right? And when it comes to Jamel Herring, he says the opposite. He said, "Oh, Jamel Herring, no, he should stay away from Burchell. No, he shouldn't fight any of those top guys. Just take an easy touch. Take an easy touch." There's something wrong with his messaging here. Stormy, what's going on, bro? Is it just a coincidence, or like what's going on here with Bradley?
Bradley seems to have. They put him in a position on this network to be the guy. He's like the annoying subject, you know, the villain on the tube that, like, okay, when he comes on the air, it's like, oh, you want to turn it off and stuff like that. And I don't know if this is all by design as an act or if he's coming out of his shell, so to speak. But I really don't like what we get from Tim Bradley. It's not earnest journalism as far as covering the sport of boxing, especially for a guy who fought in the sport for as long as he did as a professional, didn't have a lot of power, and found himself in fights where he majority of the time had to go the distance, and basically the fights were rugged fights. So it's really puzzling that he makes the remarks like Herring. I mean, he's a fighter I would watch because he brings substance to what he has. Like I said, he's limited, but my goodness, is when it's guys like that who help hold the sport up because they give you 100% when they're in there. And that's not to be disrespected. And for him to say things like take us off touch and this and that, and stay away from certain people and this and that, why isn't he more supportive of someone? And I think Bradley had a military background, if I'm not mistaken. And he doesn't want to see another person get luster and shine. He seems to, you know, kiss the boots of people like Lomachenko and Tyson Fury. But he, you know, when you have a hard-working man like Herring is out there, or even the gentleman who lost the decision to Herring, Roach, these are guys who are applying their trade and they're working hard in the sport. Where is the respect for that? You know what I mean? It's like, I'm glad both guys came out okay. I'm glad that they're gonna. In the video I did on their fight, I said Roach is gonna be back. He's gonna be in the thick of things because there is some pie for everyone around that weight class, and you have some very young guys there. You have some tried and true veterans there, and it's a great mix. All they have to do is fight each other. But when you see someone like Bradley, I don't think it's sincere and earnest journalism coming from him. I think it's very angled, dare I say prejudiced, against someone being able to make their name or state their claim in the sport. And as far as he has done, he ran away from great challenges in the sport. and decide to sit outside the ring and talk this crap that he's talking, which he better be glad that's where he is, because these guys out there will put a fist in his mouth. So, you know, I don't have anything for Bradley nor Andre Ward, do I have to say, but I just know that these men that fought on this card, I was going to say, D-Style, before you asked me this question,
yeah,
these guys, what they could do, how Top Rank could turn this thing around, they could start putting on real cards the way that Don King Productions used to do. You could have your main event, then you could have a fight that leads up to the main event, and then another fight on the undercard, like a 3-fight card. And you have whoever your main event is, and you do a round robin. One week, one event, it'll be Terrence Crawford. The next event, it might be Lomachenko. The next event, it could be someone like Burchell or something like that. It's like you do that round robin, but you put these fighters on these cards and you feature them because these are good fighters. It's not like they're guys who are just holding on to titles and they don't have much to offer. These guys are good fighters, and they're like sitting in the background or sitting on the shelf or something. That's what I don't like to see.
No, I agree, man. They got to do a lot of things to improve when these fights come on, which fights they put on. And I got to tell you, there's a lot they could have done to give a better presentation for this Hearn fight. A lot they could have done to make it even feel bigger than what it is. That's what a promoter should be able to make you feel something's bigger than what it really is, right? Like Don King would sell any fight. Like if you would have given Don King Hearn versus Roach, bro, all right, Don King would have made it sound like this was the fight of the century, right? Right? Oh, the Marine, every Marine should show up. This is Veterans Day. Roach is trying to beat up the veteran on Veterans Weekend. Like he would have done some to promote this fight, dude. Right? So, you know, what are you gonna do? You know, the heart of the Marine. Like you could have done a lot of things, many things. All right, but you know, what are you gonna do, Reggie? What are your thoughts on Timothy Bradley calling out Tank Davis, saying he hasn't fought anybody? All right. Last I checked, he beat Pedraza, who's a pretty good fighter, by the way. But Tank hasn't fought anybody, according to Timothy Bradley, right? And but you know, he's telling Hearn avoid all the top guys.
Man, you stole it from me right there when you brought up the Don King reference. Is that Don King will build up anything, and this is a clown-ish from. I hate journalists who do this, or anybody who labels any fighter as a bum, because at some point these same fighters have to get in there with somebody with a name, and you need to build it, because if you're trying to sell stuff, if you're looking to gain popularity, to get people to attract to the sport, you can't be labeling people bums and tearing people down. You have to build them up as being comparable opposition. But these fools like this, they tear down the sport. They push people away from wanting to watch these events. And this is why they're suffering when it comes to people not wanting to see an event, because all they do is build up the A side. That's all they do. Like you have to do the Don King stuff, build up the opposition, make it seem as if this person's going to come in there and put up a great account for himself, to where if the A side is facing a little bit of adversity, it ain't something that people have to look down on. Oh, this person is washed up, this and that. No, you give the other side their credit. You give credit where it's due. And this is where they're killing off the game. And to state that another champion ain't fought nobody, well, you need to be stating if he ain't fought nobody, put your A side champion in the ring against him. But Tim Bradley, they don't look at the sport that way. They think it's their side, because this is the side that feeds him, and he doesn't want to bite the hand that feeds him. He does everything to draw a line in the sand. But Tim Bradley, the other thing he mistakes is that he has no influence, to where what he spews out is something that the most casual of casuals is going to buy into. They look at him as a buffoon. He's playing the hell out of himself. He doesn't project themselves as being a former fighter, a former warrior in the sport. He comes off as some goddamn comedic clown. I don't know what the heck to call this fool, but he does a lot of buffooning. I don't want to use the C word, everybody knowing it, but he does a lot of buffooning up on this thing called ESPN. But They just, I don't know. I when I first heard ESPN was getting back into boxing after they went on that short stint when they got rid of Teddy Atlas, I knew it was going to be the worst thing to happen to the sport. And it's everything I thought it would be is exactly what it's turned into when it comes to ESPN. I just don't like ESPN. I don't like what they've done to sports. I think they've done a lot to ruin it. And the reason why I say ESPN's done a lot to ruin sports is because they put too much of the focus on their broadcasters of being the stars. All the broadcasters have went about trying to create names for themselves and getting in front of the sport. No, sit your corny butts behind, reports what's happening on the camera, leave all your opinionated biases to yourself, have them in the break room, but report what's happening on the screen. And this is what ESPN ever since I was young in the 90s, the early 90s, watching ESPN, I just hated I can't stand when I see a commentator trying to be famous. I hate that. And this is what they're doing in boxing. And this is the reason why the sports gets done this way. Like you said, Don King never did anything of knocking down other fighters. He built the fight up. And that's what these promoters have lost way with. But that's all I have with that one. He's just a clown, man. And he's a great fighter, but he went into retirement and turned into a huge clown.
And I wanted to add to what Reggie just said. It was like sportscasters used to call sports, period. You would have a good sportscaster that would cover many sports because he was good at what he did. It wasn't that he was trying to be a star. He was a star because he called the sport like it is. They used to say about Howard Cosell, he told it like it was. Tell it like it is, Howard Cosell. And Howard Cosell covered everything. But he was so good at what he did, it was like unbiased. And when he did interject his personal opinion, it could have been strong, but if somebody sucked, he said it. If somebody made a bonehead play, he said it. It was like, it was honest. It was earnest. What we were talking about and what you're seeing today is nothing like that. And in the sport of boxing, it is imperative that the men who cover the sport cover it correctly because it is suffering so many other setbacks in various areas from you name it. Certain personalities bring the sport down with their outside the ring antics and sometimes inside the ring antics. The doping issues, the cheating, the sanctioning bodies, the questionable judging in fights and all of this. Earnest journalism would hold it together, but they're helping to separate the sport and make it more of a lower tier option for a sports fan to tune in. Nobody wants to see Jim Lampley on the air pushing for Roy Jones to be disqualified because he hit a guy that kind of went down, and he's out there campaigning for this champion to lose his title on a DQ when all they have to do is give the man who went down a few extra minutes to get himself together and they continue to fight. It's like I hate that kind of stuff. And then they sit up there and call a fight one-sided. When Manny Pacquiao was fighting on HBO, and Manny Pacquiao does something, a flurry by Pacquiao, and then nothing landed. But he will say that because that's the house fighter contracted with their network and everything. But they were quiet as a mouse when Marquez put that right hand on Pacquiao and he went to sleep in front of millions of people. And where was Jim Lampley then? Roy Jones looked over at him and said, "He's not getting up, Jim." And Jim had nothing to say. This is what we're talking about. Could you imagine the call by Howard Cosell with Manny Pacquiao getting knocked out in that fight like that? It would have been a legendary call. Just like when he said, "Down goes Frazier," or when his last boxing fight, when he talked about Larry Holmes beating up on Tex Cobb, he was like, "This is disgraceful. I will never watch boxing." That kind of thing. He was always legendary with what he did, and he didn't do it in front of the sport. He did it as a part of the sport. Don Dunphy, those guys who called the game. Even you go back to the 90s when Al Albert and Sean O'Grady called Tuesday night fights. Those guys, they were personalities, but they added to what you were watching, and they made it interesting. today these guys are trying to be bigger than the game itself, the sport itself. It's ridiculous.
I hear you, man, and we'll see how this goes with ESPN. I want to go over some of these comments really quick. El Jefe, shout out to you. Teresa D, shout out to you. Karen, Coran Braid, what's going on? Timothy Bradley is 100% for the brand, says AJ10. Well, that's a truth if I've ever heard it for sure. I respect Bradley, but he isn't a top-ranked payroll, says El Jefe. Chief Funk 84 boxing commentary is nothing but fanboys for the promotion. AJ10 again. Michael Irvin talking about the Cowboys equals Tim Bradley talking about top-ranked fighters. Shout out to G Funk and the Cowboys. How about them Cowboys last night, by the way? All right. Where was that defense? I couldn't find a defense to save my life. Right? And there's nothing like a 3rd and goal with 20 yards to go, and you hand it out to the running back. What a beautiful play that was. Right? But anyway, we'll move on from that. All right. We'll just do the Jason Garrett clap. All right. There we go. All right. What a terrible coach, by the way. Only boy had 2 fighters. Hoed and Roach lose to 2 top-ranked fighters, Shakur and Herring. Well, I will say Top Rank is getting those W's over Golden Boy. That's for sure. Okay, like Golden Boy should know, like, hey, if they want them to go to their network, it's where they could lose. All right. Bradley's known over here as Medicine Ball, really. Okay. All people, I don't know. I ain't gonna read all that, bro. You're going too philosophical and shit. Coran Braid always going philosophical on shit. Okay, Coran Braid, whoever runs World Boxing Super Series should take over all of boxing. Best thing going for the sport. I do like the World Boxing Super Series. I cannot lie. El Jefe D-Style, I did not get to see the Gabe Flores Ramirez fight. I have not gotten to that on the undercard. Did any of you guys see that fight?
I didn't see that one.
No.
We didn't get to see that fight, man, but we could always check it out later. Jay Souza, what's going on, man? Shout out to everybody. We can't go through everything, but there you go. Okay, D-Style's Texan, but he disliked the Cowboys. So I ain't from Dallas. Does it look like I'm from Dallas to you? All right? I'm way in the corner. We even have a different time zone in El Paso from the rest of Texas. Okay? But anyway. we ain't voting Republican this side. All right? But anyway, let's talk about the zone, man. Let's talk about the zone. Billy Joe Saunders. Shout out to 78, by the way. Defeated Marco Esteran Coceres. Let me say something about this fight. Okay. So it starts off, it looks like a typical, one-sided fight for the first few rounds. Right? And then Billy Joe got a little tired. Okay. Like Billy Joe had that KSI or Logan Paul, stamina after 6 rounds. He was a little tired. And Coceres put it on his ass for middle fight. He was active, and then Coceres was like feeling himself, bro. I'm like, dude, you haven't won the fight yet, bro. You haven't won the fight yet. What are you doing? Like, he's over here, he's hugging his corner after the rounds. He's got his hands down. Dude thinks he's Sergio Martinez all of a sudden. He had both hands on his side, bro. And to his credit, he was making a miss a little bit, but feeling himself like way too much. And then he got clipped with a hook. And then he got clipped in the back of the head. Not intentional, but, Billy Joe Saunders, I believe it was an overhand, and it hit him in the back of the head. He did turn. And then Billy Joe caught him with an uppercut. He hurt him, and he put him away. All right. I think it was the 3rd knockdown. I think the rest said, you've had enough, kid. Right? He was feeling himself too much. And I don't know if it would have made the difference, but I think I had a draw like going into that round, man. Like I just don't understand what this Coceres was thinking. All right. I don't know why he was celebrating too early, bro. Like you've been boxing your whole life to get to this point. Okay, you're a title shot. And you're already celebrating. A little too early, right? Reggie, What are your thoughts on the fight? And on Caceres feeling himself a little too much.
Oh man, the fight. This is a pretty interesting fight, man. I was enjoying it. Billy got out early, good in that first round. That first round was a pretty fast start for Billy Joe. He got off fast with his jab. He kept this dude flinching. Caceres looked a little bit nervous, a little bit hesitant being in there with a champion. I just thought Billy Joe's going to wash through him. Then going into the second and third round, those became very close rounds. Second round, good inside work. Caceres started to get off on Billy Joe. That third round, I gave to Billy Joe some good inside countering, a lot of countering from both fighters, but mainly from Billy Joe. He did good work countering the heck out of Caceres. Then in round 4, start seeing Billy laying on the ropes. This is when he started looking fatigued to me. He's laying on the ropes. He looked weak. Then he did that little frustrating move. I think he tried to hit the dude when the ref was speaking with him and breaking him. So I thought Billy Joe was starting to give up at that point. Rounds 5, a slow round. The most I give Billy, he had a nice 3-punch combination, 3 counters in that round. I gave that to him. Then from round 6 all the way to 10, all 5 of those rounds I ended up giving to Caceres. Billy Joe just looked fatigued, wasn't doing nothing, started seeing a lot of that rope laying stuff. This dude working out that jab. And he was awkward as heck. Caceres very awkward, but he was putting in that work on Billy Joe, feeling real comfortable. So I had him, before he goes into the round of destruction, round 11, I had him winning 7-3 after 10. Then he comes into 11, like you're speaking of, hugging his corner. He thought he finished the race. I'm not sure if he knew what round it was. I think that's where the mistake was made. I think he thought that was the 12th round, but still, it wasn't the bell. He goes out there, and when he made a mistake, even before Billy Joe hit him, he's so comfortable, he does this, stretching his arms out to taunt Billy Joe, and it wasn't too long right after that when Billy Joe ends up dropping the guy, putting him down for that first time, and the punch hurt him so bad to where he got up that first time and he dropped right down. And I'm like, oh man, but if I was a ref, I probably would have stopped it. But he continued on with the count. The guy got back up. Billy Joe cracks him with a nice uppercut, put him on his pocket. The dude made the count again, and Billy Joe just finished him off. But this is the mistake you made by not taking it to that final damn bell. So Caceres probably kicking himself in the you know what? His team, his family, his country is probably kicking him in the you know what, because he could have defeated an undefeated champion. He had everything signed, sealed, delivered until he got out there and got too cocky. So, man, what a bad mistake. And he was undefeated too? Oh, man. So he's really kicking himself.
This guy, like, nobody told this dude, hey, when you fight for the title, it's 12 rounds, bro. Okay? Not 10. 12 rounds. Like, well, what are you doing? He's already celebrating. I won. No, you got 2 more rounds to go, bro. It's his championship fight. No, I'm not surprised he's never had a 12 round fight. What are your thoughts as you look at this, at his record here, Stormy?
Man, let me say this first of all. As you guys both were giving your recaps on it, I'm sitting here laughing because as I watched the fight, I wasn't laughing. But now, upon reflection, it's very funny how it played out. But man, I like Caceres, man. I like the dude. I can't say I like his spunk, because the first 4 or 5 rounds he was getting tattooed. And as Billy Joe got tired, you said it, D-Style, he got tired, and then the dude found a rhythm. And he started putting his punches together. He started putting combinations together. He found body shots were his home cooking. And man, he was throwing those uppercuts to the breadbasket and to the liver. Dude, he was going to work on them. And I was loving it. I was sitting there, I was like, look at dude go to work. And then one of the rounds, he was really pasting Billy Joe with the 1-2s. He was hitting him with the 1-2s. He was throwing it first, the right hand to the body, Then he started coming up top, you know. I was like, man, Caceres is getting busy. So I did see that when he had returned to his corner after that one round, and he was like celebrating and everything. And I was like, man, what you doing? And when he came back out, he probably pissed Billy Joe off with that, you know, and they probably told him over in the corner, look at the son of a gun. He's over there celebrating already, and he's got a couple rounds. And Billy Joe went out and took care of business. But no, this is one of those things where the man who's supposed to win won the fight. Yeah. But it's also a footnote for anyone out there that's fighting professionally. Your chance can come. This young man had it in his hands. He had it in his grasp, and he blew it. And like Reggie said, he's probably looking at the films now, and everybody's telling him, man, what did you do? You blew it. But I love the spirit that he fought with, because he was putting his fate in his own hands by his activity. He didn't cover up. He didn't just survive to try to go the distance. He was trying to win the fight, and he thought the fight was over when it wasn't. And shame on him. But it's a huge lesson to learn like that. But it's always exciting to see someone get the opportunity and try to work with it, you know, and it's a hell of a lesson for the guy to learn, and hopefully he can come back for that. That doesn't destroy him. But I also gave credit to Billy Joe for being able to pull a knockout out, because just going to the scorecards on his American debut and having lost so many of those later rounds like that, it wasn't a shoe-in for him. So he had to stop the guy, I think, to get that victory, and he did. So hats off to him for doing that. And now he can be cannon fodder for Alvarez or someone else. But it was entertaining while it lasted, and I want to see Caceres again. I want to see him on a comeback, man.
Yeah, man. Look, I saw a lot of people speculating, why is it that Saunders doesn't have a high KO ratio, but he got this guy out late? Well, one, Caceres was feeling himself a little too much. Okay, that's number one, right? But also, Saunders kind of felt like he needed a knockout here. There's other fights where he was so ahead on the cards, he just wasn't aggressive late and just went ahead and cruised to a decision. That's why, all right? But this guy kind of forced him in that position, and he also kind of put himself in that position. And by the way, back to the earlier point about Herring, all right, okay, a guy like Jamal Herring is not going to start feeling himself, okay? If you start getting tired, he's going to put it on your ass, and he's going to go all 12 with you, all right? So Caceres he's got to come back, man. I like to see him again. I do like that fight that he'll have to put him against Angulo next. You know, that'll be interesting. I think Caceres should win that fight, but if he starts feeling himself too much, who knows, right? So with that said, Billy Joe Saunders, it looks like he may be fighting Canelo next. I don't know. They could also do a big fight in England with him and Callum Smith. Which fight do you prefer, Reggie?
I think him and Callum Smith, they need to take care of UK business. I prefer to see that one. Dang, man, I'm in conflict. I prefer to see the two UK cats take care of business, but I can't knock him for a Canelo fight. But then again, I can't. The only reason I knock the Canelo thing is because Canelo should be taking care of business at 160. All this floating around stuff, I'm not with Canelo doing that. So if he fights them, hopefully he stays at the division. But I definitely want to see who's the best of the UK champions. So I prefer to see that UK one. And I think it'll be a big event.
Absolutely. Shout out to Teresa D. Says, give that like button a jab. Throw a jab. Let's get a 20 likes. They said, by the way. All right. And we'll be getting to that KSI Logan Paul that I know a lot of you are just waiting for us to talk about. Well, we're going to get there. But Stormy, what do you think, man, for which fight would you personally like to see Billy Joe Saunders in next?
Against Calum, because as Reggie just said, take care of the UK business first. That's where Khan and what's his name? Brooke messed up. If they had done that, what would have happened is one guy would have prevailed and gone on to be the guy who could come and conquer the US, so to speak, or whatever. But you will always have that second guy who is, you know, from the country and everything. And it's like he won't lose the respect or the support. Matter of fact, you gain respect and support when you go and you have those matches and you face off. It gives two people to support instead of one being a villain. Oh, he's running. He don't want to face old boy, you know, that kind of thing. So I think that they should take care of their UK business first and then go for the gusto. But as far as the two of them meeting up, I haven't seen enough of Caleb to make a call on that. But I saw, and I was having a conversation with someone about the Billy Joe fight that we just had. I don't think he's a super middleweight. I think he's fighting bloated. I think he's fighting, you know, over the weight where he should be. He should be at middleweight. And this is another thing to say about some of these fighters of today. They'll conveniently fight at certain weight classes because they think they're gaining an advantage or this or that or whatever, or just being lazy. But there's another aspect to that too. You're not giving yourself your optimum chance to be the best you could be by not fighting where you really should be fighting at. I mean, that's just, I mean, Scrapbook is in the chat now. He could tell you, you know, fighters, they want to put on extra weight because they like cheeseburgers and stuff like that and everything. But when you're a professional fighter, you have to be dedicated, man. And that extra weight, for somebody that's a real super middleweight, they're going to blow through him because he's out of shape. He was having a hard time against Caceres. You see? What is he going to do against a real super middleweight, a guy who's honed and primed and ready? You see? That's when it's going to show. That's when it's going to tell. But, yeah, I think he's a middleweight. I don't think he's a super middleweight. And he's campaigning there because he could eat a little more and this and that. But these guys, they walk around. The old fighters used to stay within 10, 12 pounds of their fight weight. That way, when they go to camp to train, they're working on their strategy, their technique, and everything. It ain't a weight loss clinic.
I hear that, man. That's for sure. I personally wish this had same day weigh-ins, but boxing's tripping, man. You know, I think we all covered that. I'd like to see him fight Callum Smith next, personally. And I do agree this guy should be fighting at middleweight, but like he doesn't even look cut up, you know, like at all.
He looked puffy. That's what I was saying. He looked kind of thick, like a doughy.
And like in the replays, he's throwing punches. You could see his man titties moving. I'm just saying, like, you know, like this is a professional boxer, right? But anyway, let me tell you who is in shape. Devin Haney. All right, and he defeated Alfredo Santiago, a Dominican. Pretty solid, and you know he's all right, but awkward, very awkward fighter. All right, and on a 5 days notice, by the way. Very interesting. Let's start with you, Stormy. How did you see that fight? And two-part question: what's next for Devin Haney, in your opinion?
Well, I can tell you right now what's next for him. He's got to go get some healing done because that shoulder that he blew out, lunging with those punches, trying to knock this guy's head off. I think that we saw Devin Haney. I won't say he took the opponent lightly, but there was a letdown. He was hoping for Lomachenko. He was. And so in taking on this guy, and I've looked at films on Santiago, and what I saw of him was he threw like looping punches. He was very gangly, and I didn't see toughness there. And when it was time to show some toughness, rather than to show toughness in a championship challenging fight, he decided to survive for the fight. And when Haney put him on the canvas, he kind of changed up his routine. But there was something that I saw from Haney technical wise that I always point this out with these guys, and that's carrying that left very low and using that shoulder roll posture and everything, where this guy was touching him a little bit because he had a reach and an awkwardness about himself that if he had a little more pop on his punches, Haney could have had some serious problems. He would have had to make some adjustments on the fly, and which I think he's capable of doing. But don't give these guys nothing. You're good enough that you can blow them out. And I was surprised that he didn't go in for more body work to break the guy down to try to get him out of there. Once you 4 or 5 rounds, now you start putting in your implement to close the deal. And he kind of just fought the same way throughout the fight. And when he hurt himself, he did it when he was lunging and going after the guy. But after he heals up, what I think is in store for him is to fight the next best opponent. And if he could get that done, then he can move up. But I don't think he's going to be there very long at this weight class. So that's what I think about Haney. But I hate that he hurt that shoulder. Depending on how bad it is, he may need a little extra time off. And he's also going to have to start getting that body work in, working on the inside.
Reggie, what are your thoughts, man?
Man, I thought it was a good fight. And like OG was saying earlier, I like for when dudes get these type of opportunities is that they make the most out of it. And that's what Santiago did. He came in here. He wasn't in here to lay down. He wasn't playing to the ace A card, him being the underdog. He really came in here to try to bring about an upset of Devin Haney. And he was using that range, man. It was several times, man. I ain't gonna lie, I was a little nervous, man. I thought Devin was gonna get hit with something. This dude was lining up those punches pretty well. And it was opportunities. I mean, it was moments into where I see Devin will kind of try to duck down out the way of punches, and this guy come down with those punches. But luckily, Devin he has this quick twitch, great reflexes to where he's able to move out the way of those punches. But if this guy would have stepped just a little bit forward, bringing those punches down right in range, he would have caught Devin with something. So that's why it's important to keep that hand up. But he boxed pretty well, but it was just another thing of dealing with the height of this guy. This guy's like 5'10", 5'11", great reach. Devin still managed to find ways on the inside, but he didn't stick to the plan, probably trying to impress the crowd that was in attendance. But now some people want to speak of being exposed. That's far from the truth. He went in there against a guy who was much taller than a lot of the championship opposition, so the adjustments need to be made. Short notice opponent, not too much film on Santiago, so a lot of on-the-job type training, in-the-ring adjustments. Now, the champions that he'll go into the ring with, he knows a lot about them. He's been to their fights. He's not just there to show face. He's in there studying these opponents. Same. So when he's going there against Tank, I believe he's taller than Tank. So now they have to deal with the height situation. Same thing with Lomachenko. He has to deal with the height disadvantages. So the card flips. So now you have to see them adjusting to a high athletic, tall, and rangier fighter. So Devin's in kind of a good position, but now he has to sit to the sideline depending on how bad that injury is. Where there's just some rest. He's young, they heal up pretty quick. But I definitely think his next move is getting in there with Lomachenko, preferably. If not, Tank Davis, Mayweather them have to cut the bull crap antics they're trying to pull with hiding Tank Davis away from everybody. Or otherwise, the criticism he faces is what gets him up out of the sport. He's a very undisciplined fighter, so they need to hurry up and get this dude a fight. But I favor Devin Haney over all the champions that are in the game right now. I think he's going to go in there and he'll work through all of them. But that's all I have with that one.
Absolutely. Just want to address this comment. I mean, where is he? Right, Gordon. I mean, as far as the hand me down, like here's my thing with this. Okay, it's Loma should fight him then, right? It's as simple as that, right? So let's do the fight then. I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear. Well, he's just a kid. He's not ready. Fuck all that. Okay. Then Lomachenko should fight him then, right? Because if Loma doesn't fight him, you guys can't say it's a hand-me-down, right? What it really is he's refusing to fight what should be his mandatory. Therefore, the mandatory gets the title because technically that's what happens if you win an interim championship, right? But you know, it's whatever for now. I just think the fight should happen then. As simple as that. And that's what I want to say. I want to see Haney versus Lomachenko next. That's the fight I want to see. Right now, it's what I would like to see. Me against Loma. Let's do it. Why not? As simple as that. Okay. Jay Soda, what's going on? Shout out to Kemalaz in the chat as well. Brown on boxing in the chat. What's going on? Before we move on to the KSI Paul Logan Classic, do you guys have any final thoughts on Devin Haney and the 135-pound scene?
Yeah, I would say something. I was listening to some of the shows, you know, the next day after the fight and everything, and there were people, you know, saying certain comments about Devin and his performance and this and that. I still think that as far as the sport of boxing, Devin Haney is a blue chipper. I do believe that. And I believe if he were facing Lomachenko on that night, he would have been honed and ready to show everything that he has as far as class. He did catch this guy as a late replacement, whatever, or just to get him in and get that defense in and whatnot. And there were probably some jitters because he's defending, you know, he's won the title and defending it on the same night, basically. But I don't overlook what his potential is. His potential is real. We've had other fighters in the sport that are not like Devin Haney get credited with things that had yet to be accomplished, and the world was handed to them. Status was handed to them. Pound for pound was handed to them. And I can't see that from those fighters that were handed and awarded that merit. This young man has that. He's got his head on straight. He's been around professional people. He started out the right way. And I think that all he needs is the opportunities to face the fighters where he could show his wares. You know, Floyd Mayweather, someone was saying in one of the other shows, they were saying like, he's not Mayweather, he's not on that level or whatever. Well, the one thing about Mayweather was he was good. And so they started putting him in good. And when they put him in good, he raised it up to another level. I believe that this young man is capable of doing the same thing. It's just that nowadays, the ones that can give him that opportunity to show that he can grow and he belongs, they don't do that nowadays. They run away. They give up belts. They go to other weight classes and things like that. So it's a shame that he doesn't have that opportunity to gain legacy status, but he has everything that is required for legacy status, and they're not awarding him that like they've done some other guys, and that's okay, because I guarantee you at the end of the day he will be the one that you'll be remembering over that status, as opposed to some of these others that they've kind of just handed the baton to. So I'm excited about that. The only thing that can sidetrack him is himself, if he loses that desire or something like that. But right now, I think he's chomping at the bit, and he wants those opportunities to show against other people. Sometimes, you know, in other sports, they say you play down to the level of your opposition, you know, or whatever. But I don't think that was the case here. I just think that had it been Lomachenko, you would have saw something really special.
I agree. And really quick, I just want to get through the comments quick, and I'll go to you, Reggie. But I also want to respond to that. I mean, here's the thing, guys. It was a 5 days. You guys need to understand, anything in life, if you get a short notice, it's going to catch you off guard, and you're going to do your best, but you're not going to do as good as if you would prepare. Like that's just a fact of life. In boxing, it's especially true. Like, this was a short notice fight against a very awkward fighter who came to fight, by the way. He didn't come to lay down for Devin Haney, right? And he still, in all honesty, I think he won every round. Like, it's not like, you know, he was like in a life and death battle like Billy Joe was in the fight before that. You know, like he, you know, like he was doing okay. Now, I just want to go over to some of these comments here really quick. El Jefe, I like Haney, but it depends so much on athleticism and fights in pattern. Haney's not a pattern fighter, bro. Okay, he's not. In my opinion, Haney needs a real trainer. No disrespect to his father. I think Haney's doing okay. Haney should go back to Mayweather Senior, a guy like Buddy McGirt. Whether he should, he shouldn't, I don't know. He's doing just fine right now, from what I see. Haney's still a kid. He's got a hand-me-down title. And then you say that he shouldn't fight him, Goran Britt. Right? And then you say, no, he's not ready yet. You guys want him humiliated. First of all, this is boxing. What do you mean? These are grown-ass men. These are grown athletes. They're supposed to be fighting the best. If Haney goes in there and gets humiliated, like, well, what is that to you? Maybe Lomachenko gets humiliated. Well, how do you know what's going to happen? Let's make the fight happen. All right, you don't get to. The only one humiliated, trying to humiliate him is you. You're over here calling him he's not a real champion, a fake champion, and then you got to hand me down. So I don't know, bro. I think there's a little bit of concern if you were to fight Loma. I think Haney, like Teofimo, can't fight in the inside and will struggle when they face taller opposition. We'll see, I guess. I mean, I don't see any evidence of that right now, but never heard of the dude Haney fought. Probably a Rican domestic level dude. Jay Souza agrees. El Jefe. We got another topic to go to, so we're going to read a couple more of these. Regardless who you beat, Loma still ducked him. He gave up his belt rather than keep his belt and fight him. It's a duck. All right? It's hard to argue against that, guys, unless he ends up fighting him. Okay, like there has to be a plan. Like I haven't even heard Lomachenko say anywhere that, oh yeah, I'll fight Haney. I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. All right, at all. So I'm just saying. By the way, all of you saying that it's that Haney isn't ready, right, and that he'll get humiliated, right? Are you admitting that Lomachenko got humiliated against Mexican dude over here? What's his name?
Salido.
Salido, is that what you're saying? Are you saying Salido humiliated him? So Lomachenko could fight for a world title in the second pro fight, right? But Haney's not ready right now. You guys are being a bunch of fucking hypocrites. It ain't even funny, bro. Okay? like this dude fought for a world title against a veteran fighter in his second fight. Till this day, you guys use that excuse. Okay, it was only a second fight, bro. Give him a break, bro. Haney has more than 2 fights, and you're telling me, no, he's not ready. Are you shitting me right now? Are you shitting me? So it's just saying. All right, a couple more. Haney versus Ryan Garcia. That's not a bad fight, actually. I wouldn't mind that fight. Teofimo or Tank would prove something. look, man, like, okay, but Luke Campbell was ready, right? Like you know what I mean? Like Souza was totally ready for Loma. You know what I mean? Come on, bro. Okay, Linares, who had already been sparked before, was totally, he could totally fight Lomachenko, but not Haney. No, that's a bit too much. I mean, come on, guys. Okay, Lomachenko, I like that. Cholo, he accepted the diva belt just like Canelo. All right. With all that experience, of course, Loma is running this start in the pros. All right. So, Reggie, go ahead, bro. Give us your thoughts.
No, I just had that one point, and Nepal said this how bad it is because Karan's trying to defend Loma. So you being a Loma fan, you making yourself look bad, and you making Loma look like even a greater coward by trying to add in that you're trying to save Devin Haney. The sport ain't about fighters being undefeated. It ain't about matchmaking for fighters to fight the easiest task at hand. This is a risk business. You take on the most riskiest challenges, and that's what makes boxing great. Now, when you're talking about, oh, he's too young, he's this and that, you're not a fan. You're an injection of what you learned from Larry Merchant, Jim Lampley, these Tim Bradley types. True fans, if you're a fan of a fighter, you state they can whoop everybody. And Devin Haney's a champion. So if you believe in Loma, you should be wanting to see him fight him. And now you're hearing talks of Loma moving back down to 130. That just shows how afraid this guy is starting to look. But that's all I had on that one. Real fans want to see anybody holding the title, fighting anybody in the game with another title to start off with.
Yeah. I mean, look, man. Look, at the end of the day, this is the hurt business, as Sugar Ray Robinson once said, right? I ain't concerned about a world champion getting humiliated by another world champion or make the fucking fights happen. Okay? And as Ashy Knuckles said, by the way, check out tomorrow at Punch a Chance, the ring will sort out the facts. Okay? So just get him in the fucking ring. I don't want to hear about, I don't think you should fight this guy because of that. Or Neri shouldn't get in the ring with Inoue because, I mean, that's Inoue will destroy him. Like, oh, okay. Let's sit your asses down. Okay? Just like the French dude was lose to Neri's brother, Inoue's brother, right? What happened? Frenchie beat his brother. Last I checked. That's what I saw anyway. Knocked him down, too. It was pretty sweet. You know? We're going to move on. Well, one more because it was a long comment. I want to respect Souza here. When WBC mandatory mandated Guerrero, Floyd could have said no to the level and dropped his belt and said Floyd followed the mandatory order and showed us why he's so great and schooled Guerrero 4 divisions. I will say that Ruben Guerrero will have a lot to say about that on Wednesday. Okay, so I'm baby nuts. But you know, I don't know if Mayweather is the best example because he didn't always get mandatories, but that's a different story from at least from welterweight up, you know. But with that said, KSI versus Logan Paul, or as I call him, Paul Logan. Yeah. But these two YouTubers, all right, that's what it was, broke the internet on Saturday night. You guys hear that story about that dude that got thousands of live viewers because they were watching the fight off his glasses, the reflection of the glasses?
No, I didn't hear about that.
He got the fight with his phone, and he was using his glasses, and people were watching it off the reflection. There's nothing they could do about that. You know what I mean? That was some creative shit to show the fight, by the way. Okay, went viral. Okay, broke the internet. Dudes are doing everything they could to watch this damn fight. Okay, you had Shad Johnson. Remember him, Ocho Cinco? Dude was asking for an illegal stream on, like, dude, you're a millionaire, bro. Buy the zone. All right, he's like, anybody got a link for the fight? Are you kidding me, bro? Buy the damn fight if you really want to see this fight, okay? But anyway, illegal streams go low. Bro, this shit broke the internet, bro. Okay? The attention was out there. All right? I mean, the attention was out there. You had porn stars in attendance. Okay? dudes were there, like filming porn stars twerking, and one of them like pissed on the ground, right? And like they filmed it. Yeah, like she took a piss, and she was like all drunk and celebrating. Like this was right after the Devin Haney fight. I don't know what the hell this crowd. Dude, this was a weird ass crowd, bro. Okay, like this was not a boxing crowd. These dudes didn't know anything about boxing. All right, they were there to support KSI and Logan Paul. You had teenage girls there, teenage boys there. You had people saying these guys inspire them. All right, this dude was saying that Logan Paul shows him that he could do anything. You know what I mean? This guy shows me I could do anything. Yeah. Porn stars sitting next to 14-year-olds taking a piss. Okay, you have the girl that flashed. The one that flashed herself in the World Series was being interviewed by the Zone, like if she's some legitimate person to interview. Okay, you had other YouTubers there, all right? Not the boxing YouTubers, just YouTubers. You had everything there. Little boys throwing fingers at KSI when he was walking out. Like, well, I'm like, what the hell's going on over here? This crowd is rougher than the boxing crowd. All right. They're booing, throwing fingers, cheering. They're on their feet throughout this whole fight, bro. Right? For boxing fans to be on their feet, like you got to give us a Corrales Castillo, and we'll get on our feet the whole fight. Okay. And even then, we set our ass down between rounds. Right? These people were not sitting down. They were cheering up and down. Okay. This was crazy. It was nuts. By the way, I couldn't help but notice how KSI and Logan Paul were like KSI was sitting on his chair, like he was doing this. And I'm thinking, like, well, what is this guy doing? Like, what? Like if you're really gonna have like a technical fight right now or something, like, well, what is this, right? And they're warming up in the back. They walk out to the ring. I mean, they do everything, bro. It's just like a regular fight. I mean, I gotta admit, the place was buzzing. That was a hell of an atmosphere. Not quite the boxing atmosphere, but it was an atmosphere nonetheless. All right. I mean, this was nuts. All right. Now, the fight itself. I want to say this about the fight. All right. One, it was a little better than I thought it was going to be. All right. I thought it was going to be like those tough man fights that I used to watch on TV. Okay, where there was like these dudes just closed their eyes and just kept throwing till one guy went down. That's what I thought I was going to see. Right? I thought one of them was probably going to cower away after getting hit or something. I was expecting the worst. Right? To their credit, while the technique wasn't quite there, and I'm going to go over everything here in a little bit after you guys go, but I'll just say the technique wasn't quite there. All right. And I'm going to show everyone how this fight lacked. Okay. Like people scoring this fight are full of shit, bro. Like you can't really score this fight. These two dudes are just throwing punches, bro. Okay. I'm just saying. Okay. Reggie, you can't even see your scorecard, bro. Shit again. What is this? I'm having a hard time seeing that scorecard. Like I have a hard time watching technique in a KSI fight. Okay. But nonetheless, I do want to say that the knockdown, while the 2 points is a bit much, I do got to say, I don't know if the knockdown happens if he doesn't hold him in the back of the head and hit him. And then he hit him again when he was down. So what the ref should have done is not count the knockdown, allow KSI, his 5 minutes or whatever, and then continue to fight. That's what he should have done. The ref looked ridiculous counting the knockdown, but then taking away 2 points, in my opinion. All right. That's what he should have done. Let's start with you, Stormy B, man. I know you want to talk about the flawless technique of this fight. If you ran a boxing school, I know this is the fight you would pick to show your students how to box.
Well, first of all, what is up with that damn referee, Jack Reese, man? That dude, he wants to impose himself on every match that he oversees.
I think he was mad he got that fight, not the other
and
fight.
and then he invents rules,
Right.
It's like he calls fights on his own merit. It's like he just wants to say, hey, this is what goes. 2-point deduction for a foul? Come on, man. No. The matter of fact, it shouldn't have been any point deduction because the fact is these guys are not professional fighters. You understand? You give a guy a break, it's like it was a foul. Hey, we're gonna give him a break. And he gave him a break anyway, and then took 2 points from the dude. I mean, that first of all, I can't get past him. You talk about him first. To hell with Jack Reese. Get him the hell out of the sport, man. That dude, he's gonna really affect the outcome of another championship fight very soon. And I don't want to see him in there. He already affected the Wilder fight. I mean, I don't like the guy. As far as the two combatants in the main event, I found it very interesting that KSI had the stamina that he had, because the way he was wailing and windmilling those shots, he was able to go 6 rounds, and that's amazing. I know that the man with 2 first names, Logan Paul Logan, he didn't throw any body shots on him or anything to help get him out of there, but it was basically what you could expect from 2 guys that don't really have much to offer in the sport. You could have got that from a couple of guys sitting at the bar, really. But since they had a YouTube following and everything, it was entertaining. And I'll tell you something, I would never pay for it or anything like that. But seeing the crowds and stuff like that, it was almost as interesting as the match, because there was one time between rounds the camera panned like close up the first row or something, and I could have sworn I yelled out Gryffindor, because it was like a bunch of guys that looked like those kids from the Harry Potter school or whatever. Yeah. I was just tripping, but hey, listen, man, it was really interesting. KSI got hit on the chin. He was hurt, man. That dude, when the ref was telling him to get up, he was like, I can't get up.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
He was out, man. He was done. And they gave him life support, and he had to come back, just like they did with Tyson Fury. Son of a gun, that damn Reese. But anyway, Paul, I don't know. I think he was more interested in looking good, because that's what his whole approach to it was. Don't get hurt, don't get cut or nothing, just look good, and he did. He stood upright until he caught one, and then he went down. He tried to pretend like it was a slip or whatever, but even Shannon Briggs said, nah, bruh, he got you on that one. It's like
I can help you with that one, man. I got a reputation around here.
It was entertaining, man. What can you say? I mean, I don't want to see it again. I don't want to see another one like it. But for what it was that night, hey, the Walmart of boxing. That's what it was. Walmart of boxing. They had everybody that was at Walmart, including the people who fight at Walmart.
Right.
Put them in the ring and put them in the stadium, and that's what you got. And I didn't know about the urinating on the floor and all of that, so that just certified it right there. The Walmart Championship. That's what we were watching.
Yeah. Reggie, I want to say something, right? Because you called this a great fight. Now, so I want to give you an opportunity to clarify that. Like what when you say this was a great fight, please clarify this for us. Like I need this. I need clarification from Reggie Owens that was calling this such a great fight. I mean, I never heard you so excited for a fight in my life. You weren't this excited for like Spence Porter, bro. Like, oh, God, boxing fans, what a great event this was. I just want to hear, when you say great fight, what do you mean by that, Reggie?
No, I'm excited about all fights. I lose my voice over these fights. But this is everything about this event was brilliant. It was great. The whole sport of boxing needs to learn what this event also did, because you got to separate them from being real boxers. And where I give them respect at is there two dudes who decided they wanted to fight each other. They went and did training on some amateur type stuff. Then they go back into it, and they respected the respect they have for the sport of boxing. I have to give them extra points for that. They took this event. They studied the game. They took this event very serious, went and got real trainers of the sport of boxing, went through hell to break their bodies down, whipping into condition to actually go into a fight. I commend them for doing that. For this, almost like two trolls getting up, putting in the work, and going at it. And that's essentially what it is. Two people trolling each other, going into a fight. And the other thing they show is when you have people with huge followings, and this is where Eddie Hearn, and it's funny that he's involved in this event, but this is where Eddie Hearn screwed up a huge event in boxing that could have looked like this. And this is when Anthony Joshua was a champion. He totally screwed this thing up. You take two champions in boxing, or two popular people with huge followings, and you put them into an event, and you put their fans in the event to watch it. That crowd that we saw at this KSI Logan Paul event, that's what you would have seen with Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. But what happened? You get this old divish promoter and this divish boxer who's really afraid, deciding to step away from that, screwing up the whole chain of events. We've seen it with other boxers. These two guys got in here. They show real homage to the sport of boxing. I respect that. The whole ring walk, they kept to the customs of boxing, and it was just marketing and promotional genius. It was a brilliant thing. And these dudes went in there, and they didn't come in here putting on some sideshow type things, some barroom, tough men type fight. They went in here and really fought and entertained the heck out of folks. And I commend that. And what it shows is that you got two dudes, big names, get it on. And that's what has to happen in boxing. Two big names, promoters, get your clown cells out the way. Let's get it on. And that's what boxing must learn from that. I hope these dudes made a ton of money, because that money will wake these other fighters up to get in there. Keith Thurman could have put this on for us. He went about avoiding things, and now his career's turned to dirt. But we see so much of that in boxing, but these YouTubers can come in here and put on spectacular events. You may even see them come around again and do it and make an example of teaching boxing promoters what to do and what not to do. So these young kids taught a lesson to boxing promoters. They taught a lesson to boxing fans, such as what Karan was saying about, oh, he's not ready. No, you don't do that. Get up in there. And they taught a lesson to these other networks on how to get things done. But they could have did this without the zone, like Black Fight Fan was saying earlier this morning. They could have brought this right back to right back to YouTube. But YouTube made a mistake. Who was the owner of YouTube? Bezos. He screwed up. YouTube could have made this into an even greater event than DAZN. Regardless of how y'all feel about it, you got to separate being a boxing fan and start sticking to the economics of it. The economics behind this was brilliant. It was smart as hell. And the market tells you what it is. The market sets the value.
I hear you.
It sets the value. So hardcore fans, we can't. Being a hardcore fan, sometimes you can ruin the business side of the boxing game. But it was a brilliant event. I enjoyed it.
Here's what I'll say. One, they did do the first event on YouTube. They made more money doing this than the first time. Now, whether YouTube made a mistake or not, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, YouTube's making billions of dollars every quarter. Like, I think they're doing fine without this KSI fight. But what I will say, all right, is the following. Okay, I do agree that boxing can learn from this in a promotional aspect of it, right? Now, it's about getting people invested in the people they're watching on TV. You know, they need a connection to the person they're watching, because that's what brings people out, right? Well, when Kali Pavlik became world champion, he was an inspiration to a lot of small town people, especially Youngstown. And even during college games, these people would travel from Youngstown, Ohio, or Ohio in general, right? All the way to Las Vegas to watch this guy fight, right? And this, for whatever reason, boxing is not doing it right. Like, they keep getting this wrong, like over and over again. Like, it's Hearn fights. He's a Marine. It's the Veterans Day weekend, and people just don't even know about the event. Number one, right? It's not being promoted correctly. It's just a lot of things boxing is doing wrong right now, and I think a lot of it is the guaranteed money up front that these networks are giving to these promoters. So the Zone is guaranteeing Golden Boy so much per event. ESPN Plus is guaranteeing so much to Top Rank. They're already getting their money, so they're good to go. You know what I mean? So in terms of promoting, yeah, they can definitely do that. However, I agree with Storm. Even I don't want to see this again. This is not something I want to see again. It was fun for what it was, but this is one of those things where you could only do it so many times before it gets old, and it gets old quick. So where I think this fight was good for boxing is the following, okay? People saw, I think people, I would hope anyway, learned how good professional boxers are, okay? Logan Paul, okay, and KSI, okay, were so like light years behind pro boxers in terms of skill. It's not even funny, all right? Like they were light years behind. Like, I give them props. It was fun. It's not easy boxing, 6 rounds. It could get tiring as hell. But there was no ring generalship in this fight, right? There was no effective aggressiveness in this fight. There was no defense. Their defense was, I hope this dude's too sloppy to land. That was their defense, okay? Like, I'm going to throw this punch, and I hope this guy doesn't hit me, was their defense, okay? I mean, it's just guys that learn how to throw punches, just like people learn how to move pieces on a chessboard. Doesn't mean they know how to play chess. And it doesn't mean they know how to play chess at a high level. And these guys, it was fun to watch. It was a fun event. But here's my next question to you guys. Reggie, I know you're pumped up about it, but did boxing gain any new fans out of this?
Absolutely. Hell yeah. You got, and this is the thing that happened with the UFC. And I start seeing the rise of UFC once I got out of the military. And it wasn't based on these kind of YouTube stars. Just once this sport started to be, packaged for a younger generation, is what Dana White did intelligently, especially getting the TV deals. He marketed and pushed it towards a specific region of this country, mainly rural and kind of more towards the white side of America, pushing it to the youth of this country, but it's spread beyond them to where a lot of young folks clamor towards the sport. And I was seeing all these young kids getting into wanting to learn jujitsu, Muay Thai, that what is the stuff the Gracies do? Yeah, I think that's jujitsu too. Yeah, and other forms of martial arts, and starting to go into the amateur side of it. And then you start seeing a spawning of kind of lower tier, lower budget MMA type events taking place all across America. This thing right there, these two dudes watching their favorite YouTube stars get up off the screen, going into this event. And then think about this with the MMA side of things. You're seeing MMA fighters talking about going into boxing. So now it's pushing people to have this ideal about boxing, whether to compete, to get in shape, the money as well. But it's a highly competitive sport, and boxing is growing. Now, the only thing that hampers the sport of boxing is these idiots who wear suits. That's the thing that slows this momentum down. And some of these fighters who stand in the way because they lack the brain and they think they're bigger and greater than a sport because they carry some meaningless belt. Now, this thing can continuously grow. You're going to see a lot of young age fans starting to come over to. We're going to see it in our chats. You're going to see a lot of new age fans coming into the chats, following what's going on with the sport. And it's a great moment for them because they're being educated. Now they know what they're watching when they get into the sport. They hear the ins and outs of the sport. And it's going to be a great moment because these young kids are still students to life so they can be educated. And I think it did a great deal for the sport. It shows the sport how to do things appropriately because there's major fights. Now, the other big event is we're going to see it. We're going to see whether boxing gets it wrong or whether they get it right. And that's when that fight occurs over in Saudi Arabia. Whoever's the winner, do they do the right thing and unify the sport? And we're gonna see if one of these promoters stand in the way of stopping that, because you'll get a massive event out of the unification of a heavyweight fight. Now let's see if the boxing world does the right thing that these YouTube kids showed how to put on. But that's all I got. I think it's going to help.
Here's what I'll say. I just want clarification because I get the promotional aspect of it, but they didn't show boxing shit about how to fight a fight. I'll tell you that right now. They're like, in terms of the sweet side, they didn't teach boxing anything. That was some terrible boxing.
You can't take that out of this. I mean, I think you're putting too much on it. You're putting too much on it.
No, I get it. I just wanted that clarification. So I'm glad you agree. No, maybe. But Stormy, what do you think? We got any fans out of this?
Not enough to really impact the sport. Some of these people tune in for the novelty. Most of the people tuned in for the novelty of the event, but it's not necessarily the sport. We live in a society right now where people, they pride themselves on just being a part of the show. I was there, I was there. That's what they like to say and do. And it'll be on to the next car crash that'll spark up itself within the next few months, and as it goes in that direction, our beloved sport of boxing will still be here, though none of them may be. And that's why I say I don't feel that it's boxing picked up any fans for it. Anybody that was really smart was there to see Devin Haney, and some people to see Billy Joe for the first time in the U.S. That's where the smart money would have been. But as far as the future of the sport, there are so many other things that could be done. As far as the sport can learn about promoting itself off of this event. I think the sport can really use that as a stepping stone to get to a better place. We haven't had very good promotion of the sport in the past couple of years. That doesn't mean we haven't had good events, good fight cards, but the promotion of the sport. Like we opened the show here this evening speaking about, Hearn, and there was no promotion about that. He being a veteran, this coming out of a Veterans Day weekend and things like that, they didn't capitalize. We need to find ways to start putting that focus where it needs to be. I remember Butterbean, who came into boxing in the 90s, and Butterbean had a following, a cult-like following and things like that, even to the degree that almost 50-year-old Larry Holmes realized I can make a nice piece of change if I get in the ring with Butterbean. So he did, and he made some good money off of it. But Butterbean was always a novelty. He wasn't a legitimate person in the sport. And a couple of times that he fought somebody legitimate in the sport, he got totally iced. So, it's something that has always been around the sport. If you know the history, is you've had novelties. There was a night that George Foreman fought 5 men in one night. That was a novelty. He knocked them all out, and it was a freak show. But it's like, that was in the early 70s. We've seen novelty in the sport, and it a gimmick. It's a one-off. Just like Foreman doing what he did, that was a one-off. This that we saw this past weekend is a one-off, but the sport still needs its stars to produce, to get in the ring with one another, to keep the fire stoked. And that's where my focus is and I'll continue to talk about that. But let's put this one behind us.
Well, well, I mean, this is what I'll say. For those saying this was bad for the sport, I don't think this was bad for the sport. All right. This sport, all right, has no room to say that this was bad after all the things this sport has done to itself. You know what I mean? Like this sport does worse things on a weekly basis. Like the franchise championship does far worse damage to the sport than these two YouTubers fighting. You know, like there's just things that the sport does to itself. You know, that is worse. But I think what people will take away from this, if anything, is those KSI fans that hear him say, "Oh, this was the toughest thing I ever done in my life." Maybe it'll click on them like, "Man, this boxing stuff's hard." I don't know. And maybe they'll continue to follow a Devin Haney or Billy Joe Saunders and be like, "Oh, I remember that guy." Just like my grandma remembered Floyd from Dancing with the Stars. Hey, is that guy going to fight the one that was in Boxing with the Stars? I mean, Dancing with the Stars? Like, Grandma, you do know he's been around since like the mid-90s, right? Like, this dude's like a, 4 division champion already. He already fought De La Hoya. Like, oh, no, I just saw him on Dancing with the Stars. So that's the world we live in, and that's that. So with that said, we're going to go to one more thing really quick. Eddie Hearn comes out and he claims that Wilder is going to duck Dillian White, okay, by accepting a franchise title, right? This is with no evidence, and this is after Wilder comes out and says, I don't want to accept this franchise championship if that means I don't have to fight mandatories. We should have to fight mandatories. Stormy, what are your thoughts?
This man finds every opportunity he can, regardless of what he's doing, whether it's promoting his cards or if he's doing a press conference or something, he finds a way to mention Deontay Wilder's name. Riddick Bowe, when he was a young fighter in the division, he had a little phrase that I loved. He said, "Keep my name out your mouth and I'll keep my foot out your ass." And I think Deontay is a little more classy than to walk around and say that. But I do know he feels it, because this guy, he's only using the name of the heavyweight champion of the world to stay relevant, because everything else he's doing is very mediocre and subpar in the sport. And it's a shame, because if he were just to focus on what he has and everything and put it out there in the proper manner, maybe he could get some things going. But that doesn't seem to be what he's about. And I think at the end of the day, he's working as an agent of chaos to assist with the fact of keeping Deontay Wilder from becoming the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. That's, at the end of the day, that's the byline that all of these guys, whether it's Top Rank, whether it's Matchroom, whether it's the other networks of ESPN and the Zone and all of that, they don't want to see this man become the undisputed champion, which is one of the reasons why at the end of the day, this rematch with Ruiz and Joshua was being taken to Saudi. Because just think about it like this: if Deontay Wilder he becomes the undisputed champion of the world, he is such an influential figure. He could coerce other people to take up that same mantra and that ideal of being a person that is bigger than the belts, a person that is bigger in the sport if they walk a certain way and carry themselves a certain way. Remember, it has to be done by example. You can't talk this up. It has to be done by example. And the last thing in the world is for him to collect those other titles so he could be about his real business. And they don't want that to happen. They don't want that figure to represent everything that he represents, which is a very positive thing, but they don't want it coming from him. They want it coming from a controlled source where they can manipulate and use their machinations to warp the sport and continue to dilute things and water things down. But he's not the one. He's not a vessel that they can use. He's not someone that they can be a puppeteer for. He's his own person. And not only is that a great thing, but he's a person of conviction, okay? And he's well liked, regardless of what they want to tell you or what they try to present to you. This man can go places around the world now. We've seen it, and people flock to him. That's the guy that knocked people out. Hey, and they go and he talked to them, and he's down home, and he's a gentleman, and they don't like that. And he can knock people's head the hell off their shoulders. So it's a wonderful thing. We're living in an exciting time where he is someone who has a connection to something in the past that we haven't seen in a very long time. You see, Ali had that type of charisma. He had that type of following. Not even Mike Tyson had it. Larry Holmes, who was champion for 7.5 years and the best heavyweight at that time since Ali, he didn't have that. Okay, George Foreman had a lot of popularity because he became a gregarious character almost, and people like that. But Deontay has something else. Not only the mystique of what he's able to do in the ring, that he makes every man he get in there with taste the canvas, if not taste unconsciousness, but he's also a person of the people. Okay, he came from meager beginnings. Okay, and his whole story about getting involved in the sport and why he did so. That's the stuff of movies to be made. If he, let's just put it out there, if he were a Caucasian guy, they would have had the movie plus a sequel right now with Brad Pitt or somebody playing him. You understand? That's just how it is. That's the truth. So when you got someone like Eddie Hearn, who's coming from the other side of the pond, and all he could do is talk about this man, imagine how great this man must be. Eddie Hearn probably got his picture on the wall in his house. You understand? That's how impactful he is. But don't worry about Eddie Hearn. He'll wash out soon enough. And Deontay Wilder will still, the opportunity is presented, become the undisputed champion of the world. And all Eddie Hearn will be able to do is look from the outside and make the sideline comments like he's continuing to do on a regular basis. To hell with Eddie Hearn.
What I think, Reggie, is Wilder ducking. Because you know Hotman's about to make a video about this. And Hotman's going to agree with Eddie Hearn that Wilder is ducking the competition. And he's going to accept the franchise title. And he's going to do it to duck Dillian White. Dillian B. Sample White. What are your thoughts?
Man, I think this Eddie Hearn trying to make a play on the game for. Yeah, go ahead.
And I apologize for cutting you out, but I just want to say this before I forget. So let me get this straight. Like, this is what would happen. Okay, like no matter what Wilder would have done in this situation, Eddie Hearn would have found a way to say that he's ducking Dillian White. Okay, let me remind you people that Dillian White is a cheater. Okay, Dillian White, not only did he use PEDs and get caught, and they're trying to sweep it under the rug with this B sample thing. Not only are they doing that, okay, he also used illegal gloves. These gloves were not inspected. By definition, they were illegal. All right? Now, I get the frustration a lot of people have, and I hear you. Okay, look, I want to see Dillian White's head get knocked out by Wilder too. But this dude doesn't deserve to get paid and make money off this sport. Okay? This guy is a cheater. That's what we don't know if this dude had illegal hand wraps. We don't know if he had, 8-ounce gloves instead of 10-ounce gloves. We don't even know there were 7 ounces. We just don't know. Okay, this guy could have had a cast on. This dude's a fucking cheater. That's number one. Number two, right? So if Wilder would have said, yes, I accept the franchise championship, right? Oh, he accepted the franchise championship. He could have said no, but he said yes, right? Wilder doesn't accept the championship. He's going to accept it. You just watch. What do you mean? He just said he's not going to do it. What are you guys talking about? What are we doing here? Like, we're just going to make this up as we go? Like, we're just going to... So, no matter what the situation is, if Wilder says yes to the franchise championship or no to the franchise championship, it doesn't matter. Facts don't matter, right? The reality doesn't matter. We get to just say Wilder's ducking him. He's going to do the franchise, even though he hasn't done the franchise championship thing, even though he's gone on the record and said, I know that to a lot of you Anthony Joshua fanatics and Eddie Hearn fanatics, when your dude says something on camera, you guys don't hold him accountable. You know what I mean? Like, give me, $50 million and I'll do the fight. Okay, here's your $50 million, AJ. What do you mean? What? I didn't ask for $50 million. What's going on here? What are we doing? Right? At the end of the day, the dude has already said, not after the fact, before this fact, he said, I don't like this franchise championship thing. I don't think champions should say no to mandatories. Maybe I need to say it in their language. Mandatories. Okay? Or not your language, but it technically is their language, but, in their accent. All right? At the end of the day, the guy already said he doesn't want it, but I apologize, Reggie. Go ahead.
No, keep going.
No, go ahead. I ever see what I said.
Yeah. But no, I think this is Eddie Hearn's trying to use one of his tactics to smear the name of Deontay Wilder, who's risen into this mega star in the sport. And now that this is Wilder's week, his moment, going into this fight 2 weeks away, where he think he can kind of throw a little bit of smearing slander on his name, and it's going to feel like everything Eddie Hearn has always done to try to go about destroying the popularity or the rise of Deontay Wilder. It ain't gonna work. None of them tricks work. He throws out the fact that I think in the conversation he states that Wilder avoided them for a year. He didn't want to go into undisputed, but he stated as soon as Anthony Joshua loses the title, now Wilder's tone turns into speaking about one name, one face, one champion. He's been stating this way before Ruiz ever came in the picture. I think this is before Joshua ever faced a Povetkin. This is before he faced he was saying this for a while. So for Eddie Hearn to say that, Eddie, there's tape out here. What world do you think you live in? You don't live in your father's world. So this is the foolishness of this dude. And these young kids that he think he can tell these lies to, they're going to go back and check tape because they're going to hear so much video to refute everything that's being put out by Eddie Hearns. The tactic was dumb. Now he speaks about him ducking Dillian White. Dillian White's suspended from the sport. So what is there to duck? And now the WBC done pushed this dude to the back of the line. So who's ducking what? And now what he's banking on is that people don't know what's going on with Dillian White. Well, these folks going to start to learn that Dillian White's a drug cheat, 2 times at that. This dude goes into a fight with tampered gloves. We still don't know what was missing from those gloves in the fight. He still looked like crap while having all these drugs in the system. So now this is how does Eddie go about explaining this? So Eddie's going to go where Eddie's leading himself is into a bad position because he's going to go to an event. One of these real journalists from YouTube is going to confront him, and you're going to watch Eddie Hearn goes into some defense mode where he wants to he's going to become angry, but he ain't going to do anything, but it's going to make him look stupid as hell to where these new fans who he thought he can attract begin to turn on him, and they find out that they can't trust the snake. and they're going to see what happens. But Eddie Hearn's going to avoid a lot of interviews. But guess what? People don't forget. People who tell the truth, they don't forget, and they're going to confront him on this one. The $50 million when it comes to AJ. These new fans will learn about that. They'll see the videos on that. They ain't just going off of what we say to throw it out there. There's video, young fans. Also, when they go into when AJ turns that down, Wilder and his team sits at the negotiation table with them once again and accept terms to negotiations that Eddie Hearn and them did every little trickery in the book to make this a deal that they're going to send back and turn away. And what happens? Eddie Hearn phones up somebody from a sanctioning body to where they step in, and then they push off this Povetkin fight to break away all talks going on between Wilder and them. And this is where Eddie Hearn messed up a huge event in the sport of boxing. So for him to talk this is all in a matter of his jealousy of Deontay Wilder, who's become one of the biggest names. Now, Eddie Hearn, for a long time, talked all this crap about nobody knowing Deontay Wilder. Eddie Hearn got about 10 to 20 million people all saying people don't know who Deontay Wilder. Now, if y'all congregate, you see how many of y'all are walking around spewing that same Eddie Hearn line about people not knowing who Deontay Wilder is. And this is not even Deontay Wilder fans. These are Deontay Wilder haters, and it's about 20 million of them. So that just debunks everything that comes out of Eddie Hearn's mouth. Deontay Wilder, and matter of fact, on top of that, when Wilder wanted to show up to a AJ fight, what was the thing comes out of AJ's mouth? He's going to have security to where Wilder can't even go into the ring. So it's just pointless chasing after this dude. And what's one of the main reasons why AJ goes into that Ruiz fight with the panic attack is the whole ideal and thought of the inevitable facing Deontay Wilder. So this dude was just a shaken man. He's a shaken warrior. And you also have Eddie Hearn, who what's also crazy about him even stating about Wilder ducking this dude. He's speaking of his own fighter retiring. He don't know what the hell AJ want to do, let alone step in the ring against Deontay Wilder. So this fool, this bozo right here, Eddie Hearn, is a dude nobody should listen to. New fans to the sport will find out about that. Everyone else already knows the deal. That's why this whole line coming out his mouth is blown up in his face once again, like everything. But Eddie Hearn's a joke to the sport. He knows that. Pretty soon the sport will dispose of him. But he better hope like hell they can pull off some type of magical thing over in Saudi Arabia. He better hope that goes to the scorecards, because if Ruiz put it on AJ, it's over with. Now his other heavyweight can't fight till, who knows, 2022.
Reggie, this is Hatman. Do you hear me, Reggie?
What's up, Hatman?
Why are you calling me a liar? Am I a liar?
You're a liar, man.
Reggie, I have laced them up before, Reggie. I know what I speak of. And I am telling you, Reggie, that Deontay Wilder is going to accept the WBC franchise tag, like Eddie Hearn said. And he will duck Dillian White, because for whatever reason, he is scared of Dillian White. The reason is obvious. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Well, first, am I a liar?
A major liar. Major liar.
Deontay Wilder is a product of the PBC. I know this. I've been watching boxing my whole life. Wilder is scared of Dillian White, mate. He's bloody scared. Man, Reggie, he's calling you out. What's going on? What do you have to say to that?
Facts are facts.
Wilder is scared. Anyway, but with that said, that's what these dudes sound like. But anyway, I'm just trying to figure out like the audacity of these dudes. Okay, to come out and claim that he's gonna accept the franchise championship specifically to Dillian White. I mean, not only is that laughable, he's already come out and said he doesn't want the franchise championship. He just came out and said that, by the way. And everyone knows that it's scheduled for him to fight, hopefully anyway, unless Fury runs away, okay, for him to fight Fury. I mean, that's like all that is, it's already scheduled, right? Because the road to Doug Dillian White is to fight a more dangerous fighter in Ortiz, right? And then a better British fighter than, okay, Dillian B. Sample White and Fury. That's totally the way to avoid this guy. That's the path, right? Maybe.
Yeah, it's like, how can you fight Dillian White? We don't know the situation. He's banned from the sport.
Yeah, definitely. With that said, guys, we're gonna go ahead and close this one out. Let's start with you, B-Man, Stormy B-Man. Tell everybody where they can find you. Give us your final thoughts.
All right, man. Great show, man. Great show. Great discussion. Everybody can find me on the Stormy B-Man channel right here on YouTube. I also have an email that's for In the Eye of the Storm 4 at Stormy B-Man at Gmail. I'm sorry, at Gmail. In the Eye of the Storm 4 at gmail.com. And I just want to say thanks for having me on. Great discussion with you two brothers. Sorry we missed G-Funk tonight. I think that we have some exciting things on the horizon with the Wilder Ortiz match coming up, and also the Ruiz Joshua rematch coming up. That's two things that are gonna kind of shape the sport going into 2020. I'm looking forward to that. Also, for everybody out there in the chat that's listening and everything, Saturday the 16th at 10 a.m. Central, D-Style will be on with me on In the Eye of the Storm. So we'll finally get our chance to do that episode and present you guys with some more great boxing conversation, and we'll learn some more about D-Style on the show. So, yeah, thanks, man. This has been a great discussion. I really, I have, after we began the conversation on it, I really began to feel for the fact that there wasn't greater promotional push behind the James Herring event. That kind of sticks with me a little bit, even as we get ready to close out, because that could have been handled in a much better way, and they could have gotten something much more positive out of it going forward for the sport and also for the veterans in our country. So that's kind of sticking with me there. And I want to thank you, D-Style, for even presenting that subject. So, but thanks, and salute to everybody that's out there in the chat. Don't forget to hit that jab button for the likes for D-Style here.
Yeah, there's a Herring fight, and then there was a Burchell fight. Nobody was there. Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy, but you put these fights on an app, this is what happens. I mean, it's just the way it is. Reggie, final thoughts. Tell everybody where they could find you. You're muted, Reggie. Are you there? Reggie's frozen in place. I don't know if his internet went out.
Yeah, he's frozen, man. What's up with that?
I didn't even notice that. Reggie, post something in the chat if you're there, because we cannot hear you. Yeah, I think we lost. There he is.
There he is.
I thought it reset the whole thing. It was starting to do a reset. But yeah, what was you saying?
Which is your final thoughts, man, and tell people where they can find you.
Oh yeah, man, great show, man. Always great to get on here and speak with you guys, speak this boxing talk. Interject with the chat as well. Salute to everyone, man. Find me over on Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, and I'm mainly doing content videos. So my page is still suspended from live stream, so ain't no live from me for a minute till January. So, but it's all good because I like doing the video content. But I'm still around this thing, so You guys keep supporting all the brothers' channels. Hit that like button over here. Subscribe to the homie D-Style if you haven't. Subscribe to the OG Stormy B, man, if you haven't. And subscribe to me as well if you haven't. But thank you guys, man.
Absolutely. Make sure you guys throw a jab at the like button. Okay. Make sure you follow Chief Funky 84 on Twitter. Okay. Make sure you check that out. And tomorrow night, a punch chance with Ashley Knuckles. We'll be doing some heavyweight boxing talks. So make sure you guys tune in for that. We'll be giving our top 10 heavyweights in the world today. Okay. We'll be doing a list on that. Make sure you check that out. And we'll be doing an early preview on Wilder, Ortiz, and as well as Ruiz, Joshua. So make sure you check that out. G Funky 84 on Wednesday, Mexican Latino Tuesday, Wednesday, that is. And of course, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens on Thursdays. This is DStyleBoxing. Keep it boxing.
Keep it boxing.
Keep it boxing.
We're out. Peace.
Peace.